Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining a new webinar with invesp. We are very honored today to have one of the industry leaders joining us, somebody who I've watched over the last at least 8 or 9 years, watched him speak at different conferences. Really, when you go to SEO, SEM conferences, lots of times people complain that it's the same topics, but there are few speakers that you listen to them and you say, wow, you're just amazed by the depth of knowledge that they provide. We're joined today by Brad Geddes. Brad, like I mentioned, he's been involved in the online marketing and marketing in general for over 15 years. He has provided a variety of consulting services, including usability, conversion, PPC, SEO. One of the areas that I think everybody knows Brad for is demystifying PPC and SEO. Really, he is the author of a must-read book, Advanced Google AdWords, an amazing book. It's required reading for everybody who joins our team at invesp. We just had a new hire, and he was asking me about the list of books, and Brad's book is one of those books that everybody needs is required to read at invesp. The topic is also very interesting. When we first had the discussion with Brad, he said, you guys are specialized in conversion optimization. Let's talk about how you test and improve your paid ads. So I think everybody will benefit from this. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Brad. Just one final note: we'll take questions, so you can use the Q&A feature at the GoToWebinar. Please, send your questions, ask any questions using that feature, and we'll compile those questions, and we'll get, Brad will go for about 35 minutes, and then we'll take those questions and try and answer them. With that, Brad, thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Very good. So I'm going to turn it over to you. 1 second.
All right. So as Khalid said, I'm Brad. I've been in this industry for way too long, and really like to think about new ways of sometimes approaching old problems, or sometimes just how we do things correctly. Because when we think of advertising in general, right? Advertising is about influencing a user to conduct some behavior, or influencing the way they think about a product or service. And when we think of paid search, so much time is spent on the keywords or the remarketing list or the emails you're uploading. Just targeting, right? That says show an ad or don't show an ad. At the end, right, the marketing component of this, the advertising component that really influences a user, is the ad itself. There's a reason it's called AdWords, Bing Ads, Ad Group. Targeting just says show an ad or not. And so what we often find with accounts is that people are like, of course we test ads. We test ads all the time. And when we look at it, this is usually how the testing goes. They open a new account, or some new person comes into the company and says, all right, we're going to test ads. And they make 2 or 3 ads across all their ad groups. Could be 100, could be a million. And then the first month goes by, and I'm like, all right, we're going to sit down and we're going to run statistical significance calculations across our ads and see what to do. And they run this, and if you do this manually in Excel, it'll take you all day to do it, but they're diligent, they do it. And they see that out of their 500 ad groups, they have 4 winners, because most don't have much data. And so like, okay, well at least we got 4, we got something to report to the boss. And then the next month comes by, and they sit down and they do this again, right? Spend all day running statistical significance calculations, looking at the data, really being diligent about it. Like, oh, we're up to 12 winners now. Then like, all right, so we just spent 2 days for 16 winners. Third month comes by. They log in their accounts, and they look at the data, and they say, yeah, that looks like a winner. Yeah, that looks like a winner. And humans are terrible at that. Humans are designed, we're people who we will find patterns in anything, randomness. And so then month 5 and 6 goes by, and it's going down. Like, we're testing ads, right? This isn't our ads, it's our bids. We need a different bid system or something else. And it's because they weren't really thinking about what they wanted to learn from their ads, and they weren't doing it properly. So we're going to kind of walk through today is the different types of ad testing you can do. Some are best for terms like brand terms. Others are best for low volume terms. There's just a different way you test it. and the kind of metrics you should be looking at, and the data itself. So when we think about, AdWords or Bing specifically, or really any paid search, you can listen to Baidu, Yandex, whatnot, there's really two ad testing types. And what most people think of is A/B or multi-ad group testing, where you're writing 2 or more ads in an ad group, and you're comparing the data just in that ad group. Now, this is really good for brand terms or high-volume ad groups. But what you're really doing is you're finding out what message is best for that specific targeting for that ad group. You're not finding what consumers like across your products or services. You're finding what they like for that targeting. So, and this can't be used in low-volume ad groups, because if you have an ad group that only gets 100 impressions a month and 5 clicks a month, in like a year, maybe you can make a decision if you're confidence factors. So another type of ad testing that's really useful, and I'll walk through a few examples throughout this presentation, is known as multi-ad group testing. With multi-ad group testing, you can test an idea or a pattern across multiple ad groups, and then aggregate that data across those ad groups. And this is a way of getting really good insight into consumer behavior, or just testing low-volume ad groups. And so we'll do some examples. A lot of people don't completely comprehend this right away, and that's not a comment anyone attending here today. That's just something we've seen over years of talking about this. And so we think about which one to use, right? If it's your brand, hey, we've got exactly one remarketing list, and that's it, and we've got one ad group for it, test ads just for that one targeting method. If you want more global insights, where you have low volume, or you have so many ad groups you can't test, and we test this way with OTAs who are often running 20 and 30 million ad accounts, then multi-ad group is much better. So where it starts with, though, is ideas, right? Ads is the creative side of paid search. You've got numbers and you have the creative side. And there's a lot of good places to draw inspiration from, right? And you think about, what do we want to test? What's the next thing? Social is actually very interesting. I mean, Twitter's 140 characters. It's very similar to an ad size. You often see people abbreviate properly in Twitter, or you can use acronymfinder.com or acronym.com to also look at approved acronyms. Forum systems, customer reviews. I'm going to walk through reviews in a moment. Competitive research, brainstorming, other marketing you've done, assuming it's not, hey, we need to test something new, and we tried this offer in 2001 and it did okay, let's try it again. That's not going to work. Previous marketing that worked well, often seasonal, are things to look at there. If you onboard customers, talk to them. And one thing we do at our company is we save every tweet, Facebook post, entry, customer service request, all of it in a database. And then we can run keyword density over time over the database and say, hey, do you realize people no longer call it remarketing if they're savvy people? They call it audience targeting. So we should think about changing some of our words from a remarketing standpoint to an audience targeting standpoint. That's a new buzzword, right? And that's just the kind of things you can see if you actually keep your data and sort of trend your own information. But what you really want to start with when you're thinking about how to really approach marketing is you want to ask the big questions. You don't want to find out, hey, should we have a question mark or a period at the end of our description line 1, right? That may be something to test later on, but you want to start with like the big things, like, are consumers price sensitive, right? If you're in e-commerce, if you're Walmart and Target, your consumers are highly price sensitive. If you're selling luxury jewelry, probably not, right? So should you include prices? Should you not? Should you use discounts? Does location matter? Good lead gen question. If you're selling insurance, how localized do you have to be? So, and insurance does not need to be localized. Do you need to be localized to a state level, a city level, a county level? At one point in time, is the benefits of creating all these additional ads no longer worth it, right? Does shipping types matter? I'm going to walk through this example a little bit. Does selection matter, right? Etsy doesn't want to be the Walmart of things, right? They're custom stuff. So these are these nice big questions that can help you in other marketing efforts when you think of these big things you want to know. Now, when you ask these questions, you don't want to test this across your entire account. You want to think of the segments you want to learn these insights by. So you'd want to segment by your brand versus third-party brands versus products, and then different ad types and even devices when possible. So to give an example here, we work with a big industrial company that custom makes things like safety gates and carriers and stuff that's often $10,000 to $100,000 a piece. That's custom made for factories and plants. But terms like safety gates actually converts for them. Now the problem here is for terms like safety gates and carriers, they compete with a lot of pet and child terms. Now these two companies don't compete for clicks. Right, Toys R Us is not competing with them for carrier words, or Pets R Us is not. And they need to use words like OSHA compliance or industrial or for factories in their informational ads or ads that are product-based, such as safety gates. They don't need to do that for their brand because people searching the brand understand what they are. So they wouldn't want to run, should we use OSHA versus industrial? That's an important test for them in product terms. It's not for brand terms. So you might not want to learn these things across all segments all the time, but you would never want to combine brand and product data together because brand will hide too much important stuff. You always want to look at that data separately. So once you sit down and say, okay, we want to learn these three things, and this is how we're going to look at the data, it's time to create it. Now with multi-ad group, you're essentially saying, hey, if we're going to test a price versus free shipping versus rush shipping, we want to know which of these matters for our D2. Then we're going to write similar headlines and D1s for all these ads, and then each ad group, we're going to have one ad end with for rush shipping, one with free shipping, one with price, and do this everywhere. So that your ads kind of look like this, where you've got so this is for a plumber. This is actually a plumber. Yellow page is too long, so sometimes plumber is like the ubiquitous example. This really was a plumbing company. And you've got things like backflow preventers. Let the experts do it for you. Next ad group, right? Your appliance installers, call for a fast and easy appointment. Back to backflow preventer repair. Let the experts do it for you, right? And so they're trying to figure out, hey, does our expert, another one that was like in business for 27 years or something, right? Does the make it convenient more important, or our experience more important, or make it so that it's call for fast and easy, a call to action, right? That's what they're trying to learn across these low volume ad groups. Or for the other set, right? What's more important, 100% satisfaction guaranteed, right? Or call us for something easy, or family-run local company, right? So we're not doing brain surgery here. We're really being consistent in our ad creation. Now, if you're testing things like geographies, you might just use wildcards, right? Find insurance providers in wildcard, and that wildcard could be San Francisco, Los Angeles, California, Illinois, it doesn't matter. So it doesn't always have to be the exact same words. You might say, hey, these are prices. We want to know if we should do something like, starting from X, and X, of course, is related to the product. And that way, you're not counting the price of that number there. It's a little more complicated to run because you've got a wildcard. Labels in AdWords can be really useful for keying off of that. So you're going to create these ads and then wait for a bit, right? Waiting is pretty simple to collect some data. And then you can either use pivot tables in Excel. If you don't know pivot tables, you should go learn them. They will change how you analyze data. They're pretty easy to learn, really powerful things to do. Or you can use software, and it will show you, hey, okay, if we use free shipping option, our conversions are higher, our CTR is higher, our CPI is higher. That makes a really big difference than, hey, we meet delivery dates, or our business is about this, right? And that's that kind of stuff. You can say, all right, now we know something about these customers. In this case, they really like free shipping, but they don't want to be told free shipping, shop now, right? They don't want to be told what to do. They really just want, hey, we have free shipping, and leave it at that. And that works best for this company. It's a little different for everyone. So here's another example, right? This was an airline company, and they fly from, it's like 40-something cities to 40-something cities, and there are sites in like 5 languages. And so if they can write ads just saying, hey, we fly to here, we fly to Munich, we fly to Iceland, then all of a sudden they can really just use about 900 ad groups. But if they really find out that, hey, users really prefer the ads that say, here's our originating city, here's our destination city. Now suddenly that 900 ad groups becomes many, many thousands of ad groups because you can't use modified broad match. You must use phrase match, exact match, phrase and exact match across all your keywords, have your ads match all the keywords, a lot more work. And they didn't want to do this, right? I mean, you can imagine, what would you rather have, 900 ad groups or 50,000 ad groups? And it really is that big of a number. It might be more than 50,000. And so, like, well, let's test and see the difference. And so the ads themselves were just, hey, what if we do to any city name, from any city name, or city to city, right? And they did this across all their ad groups. And found out that if someone types in SFO to SJC, that'd be a stupid flight, SFO to IAD, which is San Francisco to Washington, D.C., the conversion rate is twice as high as their other combinations, and the click-through rate's another 30% higher. So when their boss looked, well, this is enough data, we need to hire an intern to help you build this out because that's enough of a bump, right? And that's that big question that multi is really good at answering. And so when you run these kind of tests, right, then all of a sudden you get these great insights that you can use, right? Don't use brand names and non-branded ad groups. That's not always true. Sometimes it actually is best to use brand, right? Or hey, having geographies in our ads increases our conversion per impression. And it's so important that maybe we should actually think about breaking out our campaigns more by geo so we even get better geo tweaks to use. You know, or call us works best on mobile device versus contact us, right? These are these great things you can use beyond. You can often use them in other marketing efforts because they're not just a paid search insight, right? They're insight into how consumers interact with things. And this is an important note. Ad testing is just getting information back from consumers on their behavior, right? They're telling you what their metrics, what they think. In fact, we see publishing companies who publish books will have 2 or 3 or 4 names for any one title. And they run ad tests on these titles to see what gets the best click-through rate. Because click-through rate and a search result is very similar to pull rate off of a bookshelf in a bookstore. And so we'll see publishers who actually run ad tests to name books so that they pick the most appealing name for what they name something. So and if you've got more things you want to learn about your customer base, you can keep running multi-group testing. If you're a really big company and you've got millions of ads, then you're going to keep running multi-group testing. If not, then you can move to A/B, where you're dialing in now the message for that targeting. So let's do kind of a more in-depth example. So I love reading customer reviews. It really lets me know what people think about a company, because we don't, if a company's got all 1-star ratings, then we probably don't want to work with them. Or we want to say, do we really, are you a company we want to work with? Are you a company that it was unfair, that you actually need some help, right? And so we're reading the reviews of this company, and every time a business gave them a 5-star review, they used the word rush in some manner. Rush shipping, they rushed my napkins, they rushed this. This company makes promotional products. And so, like many e-commerce companies, right, their ads were, hey, all about free shipping. But, well, what if we just say, okay, your ads say fast and free shipping. What if we change this to rush, which is a specific shipping type that you'll pay for it, but you'll get it quickly. And ran the data and said, wow, I don't believe it. And the reason I didn't believe it is because the average order value was too different. And I just didn't believe a word made that much of a difference. I thought there's something we missed in the test setup, some segment or something we're not looking at. So talk to company. It turns out they have 2 customer bases. Use the same keywords. They have one customer base which is consumer base, where this company makes promotional products, but some people birthday party for their kids, and they want to buy 20 cups and put their kid's picture on the cup and say, hey, look at our really cool cups at our birthday party. Now, they get those orders. They don't turn them down, but it's not what their livelihood is. They have another set, which is business groups, Or Oracle will say, hey, we're having an event in Vegas this weekend, and we're 5,000 cups short. Can you print up 5,000 cups with our logo on it in the next 36 hours? And so what was happening is they had really huge average order values, B2B versus B2C. So we went back through their products and said, okay, where are these usually shipped to, right? Can we tell if they're a consumer or a business? And we tagged the products. This is a consumer-based product, or this is a business-based product. And reran the exact same test, but then segmented the data based upon the business or the consumer who is actually doing the clicking. What we found was that, all right, consumer, or businesses rather, rush shipping makes a huge difference. And for consumers, they want the free shipping. All right, that's insight one, and it's important, even though it's a single word. That single word makes a pretty large revenue difference to them. I mean, their base business is B2B, and so going from a CTR of 2.1 to 5.4 is a huge. Same for conversion rates. Now, this is great. It's insight one, but you don't stop here, right? And hopefully you've sat on a lot of Invest webinars about conversion optimization, because I'm going to walk through an example that's usually told, don't obsess over these, right? And for the most part, you shouldn't obsess over these unless you have a reason to. So we said, what if on the landing page, next to where users add products to the cart, we put on there a button that echoes what the ad message is, because we know more about that user based upon the products we're looking at. So for some, we put, free shipping takes 2 to 3 days for delivery, or rush shipping, right? Get it tomorrow. And sometimes button testing is overblown, but in this case, it was very important. And it was, rush, get tomorrow for orders under 1,000. And conversion rate was a decent lift, 9%, 11%, but this is e-commerce. And if you're in e-commerce, conversion rate lift, and you want to know about revenue. What do we actually make? Well, it wasn't good. Plus 1% on the free shipping, minus 8 on the rush. And we knew there was a change here. So consumers cared. We just felt we didn't have the messaging right. And on the rush shipping, there was this huge debate because the owner of the company, it's not a huge company, was like, I'm willing to put this on the site, but I can't make anything by tomorrow if it's more than 1,000 items. So you got to put max of 1,000 items in this. Have to do it. And the problem was they had kind of killed off their large orders. If you wanted 10,000 items, but you'd wait 48 hours, they would look at this and say, oh, we're not going to order here, right? Because that's what the button says. Hey, tomorrow for 1,000, but what you're thinking, well, what if my order's bigger? So, holy button testing. And again, if this is your first landing page test, this should not be your first landing page test. But if you've done some and you have good optimized pages, this can be useful. And once done with the entire test set, right, they got a 9% revenue lift from consumers and an 11% lift from businesses. But that's only because they already knew what the ad message was, who the user group is clicks on this particular type of product, and then they can just continue echoing that chain all the way through. So that's important to look at as well. This stuff you can use for emails. I mean, email subject lines are the same as paid search headlines. If you do a lot of organic, especially when you look at the new results of how new ads are going to look versus the organic, they're identical. The new ads are 2 30-character headlines, which is 60 characters. Right now, the max character length of a title tag is 60 characters. Organic listing is an ad. You get on the page differently, it's still an ad. And we see really savvy SEO companies sit down and say, okay, part of our ads, we have to use our keywords or this organic stuff. The rest really is about click-through rate. So they use paid search to test how they rate title tags. Right? That's where multi-group can be really, really powerful. Now, if you have outlier data, this is really powerful information as well, because outlier data is something that was drastically from the norm. And whenever you have something that's not just a little bit better, right, 9% better, that's great, but it's not 20% or 50% or 300% better. When you have outliers, you need to take a closer look at them. So, for instance, in this same company, right, these are their D1 lines, their scripts line 1 lines. And if you look at click-through rate, their best CTRs, 11% 9, pretty high. dramatically higher than all the others. The others are 1, 3, and 6, dramatically higher. They're outliers for CTR. Are their absolute worst conversion rates. Absolute worst. In fact, 1.5 versus 5, huge difference in conversion rates. But it's outlier. It means people liked seeing the message for that product, but they didn't convert after seeing it. And so the question is can you take that and use it elsewhere, right? This is compelling to users, but it's not pre-qualifying users properly to get them to convert. So where else can we use it? And in this case, they made them extensions. They put them as site links and said, hey, let's show them our cool like product builder tool online, and let's show them how much we can customize their logos and some work we've done before. And with extensions, you can't truly scientifically test them, but you can do some before and after testing. We put them up and said, all right, here's pre and post, and click volume went up while conversion rate remained same. In fact, it continued to go up a little bit, but it wasn't due to extensions. It's due to just better landing pages. And so outlier data is useful to learn from as well. So now hopefully you've got some ideas then of when to use single versus multi-ad group. And next we have to kind of go through the execution steps and the data itself. So first you want to say, what do I want to learn? Right? If you've got a small account, multi-ad group's great because it aggregates data. If you have a massive account, it's great, but don't use it for brand unless you've got a whole lot of brand products you're testing. Single ad group is really, really powerful for brand terms, but you can't always use that data elsewhere. So what are you going to test? Well, your ideas are really number one. 2, you have to determine your testing metrics, and you have to do this before you test. If you are good with math, you can make numbers tell any story you want, which is why you have to define this stuff beforehand. This is how we measure success. This is what our minimum data and maximum data is. So I'm going to walk through. Because if you do it afterwards, you can make the data tell any story. And so when you think about how are you going to pick a winner, right? This is a really important consideration. Because we see most companies pick winners by click-through rate, which is terrible. They're like, we want better quality scores. Except if everyone clicks in your ad and no one buys, who cares? Right? Now other people want to use conversion rates. Now if you're only testing landing pages, conversion rate's a great metric. It's terrible if you're testing ads, because conversion rate only looks at the amount of people who actually clicked versus converted. It doesn't look at the volume of people who searched versus converted. So 2 of my favorite metrics are actually revenue per impression and conversion per impression, because they consider this is how often someone searched for this term. So that's volume of possibilities. And here's how often they convert it, right? Actual money, revenue, and leads. And so our impression-based metrics look at both the click-through rate and the conversion rate or the average sale amount at one time. And so usually CPI and RPI are really, really good numbers to use in testing. Because if you're showing a quality score, well then CPI is going to get you the most volume, which is usually a bit higher CTR than some of your other ads. It's a really good way of testing. Number 2, you need to define minimum data. This is important. And minimum data, the types you need changes by your metric. So minimum data is the minimum amount of information you will have before you decide to end a test and look at results. If you're below those numbers, you need to wait longer. And this is the hard part for a lot of people is we want immediate results, right? We want to write an ad and say, all right, let's see what we got. But you have to be patient and let the data speak for itself. Now, in some of these, you'll see it's optional. And the reason why, if you think of a metric like click-through rate, well, CTR, the impressions is how often you were displayed. The clicks are often someone clicked on it, right? So the display is really what matters to CTR, not the actual clicks. And so when you think of minimum data, if every ad gets 1,000 impressions, you have enough. But if you also define, hey, we want at least 200 clicks an ad or 500 clicks an ad as well, if you've got an ad significantly worse than the others, you won't get that click volume because you want every ad to hit the minimum data. Now, the one item that's consistent is time frame. Never, ever make a test on one day and end it the next when you're doing ad testing. consumer behavior changes. Monday morning versus Monday evening. Friday nights are completely different behavior than Tuesday mornings when you're at work. So you want a minimum of a week. But this is why monthly testing is fine in the ad world, because you kind of look at, here is what 4 weeks of averages are. If you know your sales cycle length, then test for at least 3 sales cycles. Now the other reason to define this and not let Google's system do it is Google's got things like, hey, we'll optimize your ads for you and we'll use CTR and we'll show your highest CTR ad the most often. Is that Google's very confident, and I disagree with them on the math here, that they can predict this with under 100 impressions. So this is an actual ad test, and after they didn't get to 100 exactly, it was 97 impressions. When you run confidence factors, there was 97% confidence ad 2 is a winner. Now Google says, all right, we've got a winner, we're going to show ad 2 the most. Now if we let that test run longer, up to 3,100 impressions, we're 99.96% confident, which is pretty tough to beat, that ad 3 is a winner. And so this is why you want to wait longer. Now, if you're not sure what confidence factors are, all that really is the percentage chance that the data is due to fact and not random chance, which is why if you see confidence of 50%, that means you're 50% likely to have this result because of pure chance, not because there's actually something to be seen here. Now, a lot of people want some hard minimum numbers to work with, and I'm sometimes reluctant to give numbers out because someone's going to say, hey, we get 1 million impressions a day, these numbers are too low. It is fine to have higher numbers. If you get 1 million impressions a day, yeah, you shouldn't have 350 when you make decisions, right? But if you don't have very many, then you really do want at least 350. If you're getting 1,000 impressions a month, then wait a month. If you get 100 impressions a month, then you're going to probably want to wait 3 or 4 to make decisions. So it's fine to have more data, but if you look at this and say, hey, we can do this in an hour and a half, then wait a week at least then before you make decisions. So it's really tough to give people exact numbers because traffic is so different across accounts. But it is easy to get confidence level. So confidence, the percentage chance, a result is not due to chance. So when you think of things like long-tail keywords, all right, they get some volume, not a lot. 90% is great. When you think of third-party brands you sell, well, if it's a brand that you sell that's not searched very often, 90% is fine. If it's a large brand, but it's not your brand name, right, it's just another brand you sell, then 95 is good. If it's your brand, you really want to strive for like 99. Your top keywords, 95 to 99. And while it's not that hard to get to 90, it's a jump to go from 90 to 95 and 99. These aren't like just 5% more. It's a little bit more incremental math than that. These are good numbers to work with, though, for minimums. Now, the next step that you have to also take into consideration is maximum data. You will make ad tests. I make ad tests all the time. We're like, this is a really good test. We're gonna learn something interesting. And after a few months goes by, there's nothing interesting, and the test results have no results. And at some point in time, you need to look at it and say, we're done with this test. We just need to pick our favorite for whatever we can flip a coin for, all that matters. Pause one, move on. But max data is the maximum time you want to wait before you say, all right, we're not going to get a result. Because we see a lot of companies say, of course we're testing. We got 3 ads per ad group. And they haven't actually paused an ad in a year. Right? Because either nothing has enough data or something's not being watched. So while minimum data is how much you have before you look at results, max data is when you say, all right, if we don't have results yet, we need to just stop. So ad testing, once you have numbers in place, it's actually pretty simple, right? It's more about, if you're below your minimum data, then you need to wait more. You need to wait to get the information you need. If you're above minimum, then you calculate confidence. If you're below minimum confidence, you wait longer. If you're above minimum, then you take action, right? And if you're above maximum and don't have results, you take action. And all action is you pause a loser or pause a loser and create a new challenger, right? That's it. If you're multi-group, you might change with a different string of characters you want to change, but actions and testing is not hard. It's a matter of having a few good ideas implementing your test correctly, whether it's in a single ad group or a multi-ad group, knowing how you're going to test, right? What are your confidence factors? What's your minimum data? How are you going to pick winners? Right? Very, very important decision. And that's the keys to testing, right? So start with a big brainstorm. What do you want to learn about your users? I mean, this is a great question. Every company should have answers to this, right? And if not, they should be thinking more about their users, right? What do you want to know about them, right? Do they care about pricing? Do they care about seeing their keywords in the ads? Do they care about customer service? Do they care about offer one versus offer two, free shipping, rush shipping? What do they care about, right? That's what ad testing can tell you. So you just want to define, right, your metrics, your minimum data, confidence levels, and maximum data. And then look at your results, right? And then use that data to create rules around ad creation in terms of multi. Look at it to see, can we use this other places, right? Can we take this and change our emails or change the button in our emails? Every email should end with a call to action, right? What do you want the user to do who opened your email and read it that far, right? That call to action is a great way to test within ads which one works, because paid search, that's pretty easy to change a whole bunch of ads from call to action. Once an email's sent, it's sent, you're not getting it back. And so using quick, easy, nimble ads to find out other channel information can be really, really powerful. And just keep going, keep repeating. It's not hard if you've got a good framework to really do it in. And you really need either decent Excel skills, you need to understand pivot tables, or, and I'm just going to make a 10-second pitch here for our company, one of our companies, or you need a third-party tool who can really help you out and automatically do a lot of this. And if you're looking for it, AdAlysis is a great tool. You can do a lot of this in Excel and the AdWords editor if you're really good with it and you've got a little bit of time in your hands. All right, so let's see if we have any great questions and thoughts about our ad testing.
Awesome, Brad. Really, very, very informative. So we got a few questions. Let me we got some questions through Twitter, so that's also nice that we have some interaction over there, and I probably should have mentioned that. So one question that I got, the slide that you had asked the big questions first, where you mentioned price or shipping. The question says, this seems to be geared more towards e-commerce. Is there any way to categorize those questions for a SaaS business?
Oh, sure. I mean, so if you're in SaaS, actually, sometimes we find geos is important in SaaS, but often in SaaS, you're going to look at your customer base and say, all right, we have a segment of, usually in SaaS, SMB versus enterprise, and sometimes you do SMB, medium size, and enterprise. So can you change your ads based on that kind of information? That would be one of your main segments. Mm-hmm. For SaaS, so I mean, we'll take, I'm just take MailChimp for no good reason here, right? So you got MailChimp, all right? So some people see them as an email system. Some people see them as a CRM system. Some people see them as marketing automation system. Right, so you have three perspective ways of looking at something that just sends email, right? I mean, it does a lot more, but at the end of the day, it sends emails for you. Yep. And so what works, what combinations work best? And you'll see things like, for the marketing automation, maybe things like connect your CRM to marketing automation is a great angle for them, because they want to be viewed as CRM and marketing automation in one, right? And a Salesforce competitor in that way. But then you've got Salesforce, right? They're completely opposite, right? They're like collect and connect with consumers like one-on-one, where MailChimp is doing it, in mass with some personalization. So, how much do you personalize? What are your main factors? How you want to be known? How do you want to be thought about? So hopefully that gives you a few things to think about.
Definitely. Another question that you mentioned, since you have, so the question says you have experience in both SEO and PPC. Which one do you find have better conversion rates?
Well, it's paid, but it's not necessarily for the same reason everyone thinks, right? Mm-hmm. So organic, you rank for words you don't pick. Mm-hmm. So therefore, you're not going to have great conversion rates on it. For organic, you have to design landing pages that have use page rank terms anymore, but I use some real basic terms. of how Google crawls the site and so forth, and you have to focus on rankings and conversions at the same time. With paid, we don't care, right? Paid, you can make a page, strip out navigation, put some stuff at the bottom, and really focus on the conversion. So paid generally converts better because you don't have to worry about anything except a search engine and then making sure consumers interact well. So paid has some advantages over organic in that. I mean, now there's some differences. Organic is paid as well. It's a matter of you're paying in salaries and software versus paid, you're paying it in salary, software, and actual clicks. But usually paid is one of your best. It's also the only way if you want to do like things like remarketing and audience targeting. Organic can't do that. I think organic's very important, very worthwhile, but at conversion rates, paid just has too many, especially audience combinations.
Definitely. Yeah, I think paid allows you to really zoom in and target at a much, there is no way to compare, organic versus paid when it comes to targeting and zooming in and really being able to gear, target traffic. Another question that mentions over here, the minimum time frame you mentioned to test ads, you can test a minimum of a week up to a month. In case that you are testing for a month, aren't you allowing for external factors to impact the data of the testing data to allow basically you're allowing, I guess, external factors to pollute your data if you allow the test to run for too long?
Yes and no, right? So if you're consistently running TV commercials, right? Well, then consistency over and over again anyway. Yeah, you could have some weird event that does affect your data, but the problem, we see so many companies that start at test day 1 and they end at test day 2, and they're not for different search behaviors. So if you've got some, February 14th, right, just throw out the day if you're in flowers. You're never going to get it again the rest of the year.
Yep.
Or that whole week, right? Just ignore your data for that week. And so you can mitigate that, but for the most part, it's more chances to pollute it, but it's also you even out user behavior more, and I find that at the end, that's a more important thing than deciding too quickly. And this is where I think landing pages and ads can vary a little bit, because landing pages are where users on your site, they're interested in the offer, what are they doing? And sometimes with paid as well, you have to look at your delay time of conversions. So like the e-commerce company I showed earlier, on average, if they make a big change to their account, they don't see it for 14 days.
Oh, wow.
It takes about 14 days for consumers to really change their behavior. They've got usually a 21-day lag in conversion orders. So if they didn't wait 21 days to at least collect the data, they wouldn't actually see it properly.
Very good, excellent. Well, that was our last question for this webinar. Brand, thank you very much. Very useful, very insightful. For those of you who are attending the webinar recording will be up by this coming Monday on our YouTube channel. We'll send an email to everybody with the link. With that, until next time, please, to take care, and we will be conducting a next webinar in the next 30 days. Everybody will receive an email invite. Thank you, everybody, again for attending. Thank you, Brad.